All right, what's up, guys? Jackson Abe here today, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about how I set up my conjugate system for myself. I have implemented this on a handful of the athletes that I worked with last summer. They didn't really know about it. This is how I constructed it so it can fit me personally, and I'll kind of explain that as I go, why I do some of the things that I do. So first and foremost, I don't have a specific max effort, dynamic effort, lower day every single week. Um, I usually squat on Sundays. It's my day one typically. And so when I squat, week one would be a max effort variation. Um, it kind of depends, if I'm training for a strongman competition, some of these movements might be like a Zercher focus or the addition of chains, pauses, stuff like that, SSB bar type stuff. If it's powerlifting stuff, definitely a lot of SSB, Buffalo bar. I really like the implementations of those things. And then week two, I do dynamic effort. So that usually is just based off of whatever max effort variation that I picked. But for the most part, I do like to keep box squats in because I personally like to use the box squat as a helper. I get down and I just let my butt touch. I don't rock back or anything. And as soon as I touch, I pause, and then I'm trying to explode off of that point as fast as I can. I have the box set just below parallel, so I'm always building that bottom end of my raw squat when I'm doing my dynamic effort work. And so then when I deadlift on Thursdays, then that used to be like my dynamic effort day. It's now my deadlift day, and so that is just pretty much flipped from the squat. So week one would be dynamic effort. Which usually that doesn't get too crazy. It's just the bar or straight bar with bands. Maybe every now and then chains, but I prefer my speed pulls with bands. And then week two is a max effort variation. 1 week I like to do something with sumo. 1 week I like to do something with conventional. Keeps things fresh, keeps things in the rotation, and then that way I'm kind of building both simultaneously. Not really, but kind of. Now, where we get into the upper, that's where things kind of get fun in my system. So I have a different way of how I organize or rotate my max effort variations with my upper body. I noticed for me that, let's get back to squat and deadlift. I noticed for me personally that when I ran a max effort day on Sunday instead of just squats, that I would do obviously squats 1 week, deadlifts another week, and every now and then if I was feeling beat up or just wanted to do something different, I would do good mornings because I wasn't able to go as heavy on those, so it would limit the amount of load that I would be able to use. What I found, I wasn't getting enough touches with my squat. Yes, I was doing dynamic effort squats, but it wasn't the same as my raw squat at the time. And I just wasn't getting quality work. My squat was improving somehow, but my deadlift kind of felt a little bit stagnant. And then when I really looked back, I realized over the course of, I think it was 13 or 14 weeks before I got injured, I had only pulled heavy twice. Like theoretically, in theory, I only really pulled heavy twice. And so that just wasn't enough. So I had to find a change to implement for myself that worked. And this is the way that I like to construct it. I squat on Sundays, I deadlift on Thursdays, and it's just undulated periodization. 1 week's, like I said, max effort, and the opposite lift is dynamic effort, and then it just flips the next week. So it's constantly just going, and that keeps things fresh there. Like I said, this is where things get fun with my max effort work. Week one, usually do a variation of choice. I try to pick something that's not like just flat bench, feet on the ground, competition style kind of deal. I like to do inclines, spottos, Larsons, shoulder presses. You can do different bars with that kind of stuff. I don't like to do accommodating resistance because I like to do that in week three, but it can kind of pop up every now and then or something along those lines. So it's essentially a variation of choice. You can get really creative here with the uses of bars, pauses, and just all the different creative stuff that you can do within the conjugate system. Week two is a reduced ROM. We are looking to go pretty heavy here, and that floor press for me is a good exercise. And then obviously most people can typically do more on a board press than they could on a regular just like flat bench competition style bench press. So I like the reduced ROM in that sense for this week because we can kind of overload just a little bit. In week 3, we're specifically adding bands and chains to whatever variation we do. Again, I don't necessarily like to do the competition bench, but it's not bad to throw in every now and then before we take a comp bench in the week 4. But that accommodating resistance week is essentially a variation of choice. It's just whatever variation we pick, we got to have accommodating resistance on the bar. And then in week 4, this is the traditional. We're going to have a flat bench, feeder me on the ground, and we're going to get into our comp bench setup. Now, I might change just a smidge, with the bars, because of a different grip or something like that. But not much is changing. We're like setup style wise, we want it to kind of mimic a competition style bench. It may just be a buffalo bar, it may be a football bar, who knows. But we can also change tempos or add certain pauses in there to keep that fresh as well, especially if you are very far out from a meet. Now my secondary upper day is a combination of dynamic effort and repetition effort method stuff. My primary bench day is on a Tuesday, and I usually am up at 3:40 to walk my dog and get my lift in before I head out the door for work. And so that day is usually I have to get in and out within 50 minutes, and I don't feel like personally I can get quality, like essentially 5x5 work on repetition effort movements. And so I throw my dumbbell presses in on my max effort day, and then usually after I perform my dynamic effort work, this day falls on a Saturday. So after my dynamic effort work, I perform some form of repetition effort stuff. My dynamic effort work usually looks just simple. It's either 8 to 10 sets of 3 reps. I always have accommodating resistance on there, whether that's bands or chains. And then the bar usually changes weekly. Every now and then I might get funky and do like a floor press, but it typically just stays competition style bench. Like I said, the bar just changes, and then accommodating resistance is always there. Every now and then I'll get a little funky with that, which I'll make a video about another time because I'm writing an article about it currently. But I have done some experimentation with some dynamic effort stuff that I'm really excited to share and get out there. But my repetition effort stuff that falls after my dynamic effort work is usually either a 5x5 with the same setup. I just start adding some weight and just do 5s because eventually the bar is going to slow a little, and that's going to give me the stimulus that I'm looking for there. Or I'm trying to improve a specific movement, i.e. like a close grip bench, a floor press, an incline something. There for a while I was running a Larson press. Usually just run like a 3 to 6 week program. Usually that's kind of my progressive overload implementation, where we're just trying to tack on 5 to 10 pounds every week and either beat reps or working up percentage wise, something along those lines. And I really like doing this because I feel like I can get the quality work that I need without feeling rushed in the mornings. And then I feel like personally the dynamic effort work is a great primer for my repetition effort work. My triceps are feeling strong. Usually I got a good pump going already, so I know I'm going to get exactly what I want out of the repetition effort work. And I'm already seeing increases in my bench since I've started implementing this style of training. So this is how I set up my conjugate system. I have greatly benefited from it. I feel like I get enough touches with my squat, my bench, and my deadlift every single week. I don't feel like I'm compromising on anything or that I am mismanaging or misloading things. I feel like I get all my boxes checked, and I feel like I'm staying in one piece, which is honestly the name of the game, especially for me right now. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions about this or wonder how you can make this work for yourself, don't be afraid to reach out. And again, I appreciate all you guys' support. Thank you so much.